Hello, and welcome back to Let's Get Lit. In this episode, we will be discussing Chapter 16 of the Odyssey. Remember that the previous 15 chapters are on YouTube for your listening pleasure. Catch up before you head into spoiler territory. Alright, everyone ready? Awesome. This chapter starts off with Odysseus, who's still disguised as an old man, and Eumaeus lighting a fire for breakfast. Odysseus hears someone approaching and hears the dogs fawn all over the stranger. The door opens and Telemachus is standing in the doorway. Eumaeus drops everything in his hands and rushes towards Telemachus. He kisses Telemachus on the head and on both eyes. Eumaeus is overjoyed at seeing Telemachus. He tells him that when Telemachus left, he was certain that he would never see him again. Eumaeus asks why Telemachus chose to come and see him first. He guessed it was to keep an eye on the suitors. Telemachus responds that it was actually to ask him about his mother and how she was doing. Eumaeus tells Telemachus that she's good, hasn't remarried, and is as sad as ever about her husband. Eumaeus then takes Telemachus' things, and Telemachus walks into the house. Odysseus, still disguised, gets up to give Telemachus his seat, but Telemachus tells him to sit back down. Telemachus asks who the old man is, and Eumaeus tells him everything. Telemachus says that he'll take care of the old man and help him out, but it may be easier to let him stay at the old swineherd's house, Eumaeus. Telemachus doesn't want the old man hurt by the suitors. Telemachus says that he will send food and everything else the man would ever need. Odysseus speaks up and asks why Telemachus doesn't just kill the men. Telemachus responds that he's the only one against 100, and he would surely die if he tried to do it alone. Odysseus says that it would be nobler to die a valiant death than to let them continue to destroy his property. Telemachus tells Odysseus that on their island each man only has one son. What if he were to die and cannot rule the land? He then asks Eumaeus to go to Penelope and tell her that he has made it back safely. Eumaeus said that he will go at once. He asks if he should tell Laertes too. Telemachus says no. Even though Laertes has been starving himself for information, he has to wait a little longer. Telemachus does not want to risk being caught. He then tells Eumaeus to have his mom send one of her women to him with news. Eumaeus goes off at once to Penelope. Athena then comes to the door and motions for Odysseus. Telemachus can't see Athena, only Odysseus can see her. She changes him back into his younger self. Odysseus then goes back in, and Telemachus is startled. He asks Odysseus if he's a god. Odysseus says that he's not a god, but that he is Telemachus' father. Odysseus then sheds a tear. Telemachus says that he doesn't believe that the old man is his father, or that he's telling him the truth. He says that he's able to change his appearance, and that means he must be a god who's playing a trick on him. Odysseus says that it is only through the powers of a god that he was able to change his appearance. Odysseus then sits down, and they hug each other and cry. Telemachus then asks him how he got home. Odysseus tells him, and then Odysseus asks how many suitors there are at the house. Telemachus tells him that there are many suitors. They then sat and tried to figure out if they needed help in fighting off the suitors. Odysseus then comes up with a plan. Telemachus will go back home and pretend nothing has happened. Odysseus will disguise himself as an old beggar and make his way to the house. When the suitors throw him out, Telemachus is to say nothing but start putting all of their armor into the storeroom and lock it up. If anyone asks, he is to tell them that he is afraid that they will get drunk and hurt each other. Then Telemachus is to test out the servants to see who is on their side. Telemachus is also only to keep out enough armor and swords for himself and Odysseus. Telemachus doesn't believe it's a good idea to ask all of the men in the house whether or not they're on their side. He thinks it would take way too long. They then continue to talk. The ship that brought Telemachus back docked onto the shore, and they sent a servant to tell Penelope that her son was home. The servant and Eumaeus run into each other and go to Penelope. The servant tells Penelope and the maids that Telemachus is back. Eumaeus goes up to her privately and tells Penelope everything Telemachus has said. He then goes home. The suitors are pissed, and Eurymachus speaks first. He asks how this could have happened. He made sure nothing was to come of this. He then says that they must get the crew back here immediately. Amphinomus looks and sees the boats already on shore. He tells Eurymachus, and they call a council. Antinous speaks and tells them how deep in trouble they are. He also tells him that they must make sure Telemachus doesn't call council before they can. He will tell everyone what the suitors tried to do, and everyone will be against them. They must find a way to kill him and kill him quick. They then can divide up his possessions and make offerings to his mother. Everyone stays quiet. Amphinomus then speaks up and says he doesn't want to kill Telemachus. Antinous says that they should seek an oracle, and that if the oracle advises them, they should kill him. If not, then they won't hurt him. They go back to Odysseus' house, and Penelope shows herself. She knew of their plot to kill her son. She calls out Antinous for being an awful person and trying to kill her son. She reminds him that Odysseus helped his father, and if it hadn't been for Odysseus, Antinous would not be alive right now. She then tells him to go and leave forever. Eurymachus speaks up and tells her that he would never harm a hair on Telemachus' head, that he loves Telemachus and Odysseus. He says this to quiet her, but he was still scheming to murder Telemachus. Penelope goes back to her room and cries until she's asleep. Athena goes to the swineherd's house and changes Odysseus back into an old man. That way, when Eumaeus comes in, he can't tell it's Odysseus. Eumaeus gets back and they eat dinner. Telemachus asks if Eumaeus saw the suitors. Eumaeus says that he thinks he saw the suitors down by the ships. They then all go to sleep. This is the end of chapter 16. I hope you guys are enjoying these podcasts, and remember to please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Have a great one, and as always, stay lit.